Ever feel like you're watching something incredible, like when a huge online movement just kind of explodes out of nowhere?
Yeah.
Like thousands, even millions of people joining forces, but like, there's no CEO, no single leader calling the shots.
Right.
So how does that even happen?
It's a good question.
That's what we're diving into today.
Okay.
The mystery of how these movements happen,
Yeah.
this spontaneous collective action.
Yeah.
And the answer might be hiding in plain sight. We just haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
Taking inspiration from ants.
Ants, okay.
Yep, you heard that right. We're unpacking this wild idea of human stigmergy,
Okay.
which is a term we kind of borrowed from how ants build those crazy complex colonies.
Right, yeah. It's fascinating how they do that. It's
Yeah.
really about indirect coordination,
Cool.
like a chain reaction of cues and responses.
Okay.
So you can imagine like a trail of ants. They don't need some big blueprint
Right.
or a boss telling them where to go.
Right.
Each ant leaves behind a pheromone trail.
Yep.
It's like a trace in the environment that guides all the other ants.
So it's like they're communicating, but not directly.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's a perfect example of order emerging from what seems like chaos from all these individual actions.
So how does this ant analogy translate to us humans,
Yeah,
especially online?
right.
I mean, we're not laying down pheromone trails,
Right.
but we are leaving behind digital footprints.
Exactly. Think about a hashtag that blows up overnight.
Yeah.
It's not just random chance. It's individuals responding to what they see others doing,
Right.
amplifying a message, and then it creates a ripple effect.
So you're saying these digital traces we're leaving are how we understand how these online movements gain traction.
That's what this researcher we're looking at today argues.
Interesting. And
Yeah.
it's not just about going viral, right?
Yeah.
It's about how these movements actually lead to change in the real world.
Exactly. That's the really interesting part. This researcher's work suggests that our perceptions of risk, especially in uncertain situations, those perceptions leave those digital breadcrumbs that can actually then guide collective action.
Okay, so give me an example.
Okay, so remember the early days of the pandemic?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone turned to social media to share information, anxieties, coping mechanisms.
Yeah, for sure.
All of those digital traces, fueled by a shared sense of urgency,
Yeah.
they shaped how individuals and communities responded.
So it's like our anxieties, our need to figure things out in a crisis,
Yeah.
it becomes this driving force.
Yeah.
But doesn't that also make you think about the whole fake news problem?
Right.
What if those digital traces are misleading?
That's the double-edged sword.
Yeah.
It can go south quickly.
Yeah.
The researcher is really interested in how these systems, self-correct, especially with all this misinformation and manipulation.
Right.
He uses the term uncoordinated flow and error control
Okay.
to describe this process.
Yeah.
And it's really important for how online communities deal with uncertainty.
Okay, I'm with you.
So think of it like this. You see a post about some breaking news event,
Right.
but then you see other people questioning it.
Right.
They're providing alternative sources, maybe even debunking it.
Okay.
That's error control in action.
Okay.
A constant push and pull of information that helps everyone figure things out.
It's like a digital immune system.
Exactly.
Trying to fight off the spread of bad information.
Yeah.
So it's not just about how fast things spread, but also how well the truth,
Right.
or at least a consensus,
Yes.
emerges from all the noise.
That's the key.
It's really interesting how this researcher connects these big ideas to stuff that happens in real life.
Yeah.
And it's not just theoretical for them, it gets personal.
Right.
Like that story about their mom almost getting hit by a motorcycle.
Yeah, at that intersection.
Yeah.
Right. And it wasn't just the near accident itself. It's what they did after. That's really interesting.
Okay.
They really dug deep like an investigator, talking to people in the neighborhood, asking about the intersection.
Uh-huh.
And it turned out that spot had a history of accidents.
Oh, wow.
People knew it was dangerous, but nothing ever changed.
That's a perfect example of where human stigmergy could have made a difference.
Yeah, it could have.
Right.
Imagine if there had been a way for people to share what they knew about that intersection.
Yeah.
Like a digital space to leave those traces and make everyone aware of the danger.
It might have actually saved lives.
Exactly.
It makes you think about all the risks we encounter every day
Yeah.
without even realizing it.
Right. And the power of shared knowledge.
Yeah.
It can really make a difference.
So how does this connect to the researchers' work on that mobile app?
Oh, you mean the one about child maltreatment?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Heavy topic.
Yeah, it is.
But so important.
The researcher was really affected by a news story about a child who had died from abuse.
Oh, wow.
It was really tragic.
Oh, wow.
And they became fixated on finding ways to stop these things from happening.
And that's where the app idea came in.
Exactly. They wanted to create an app where people could report signs of child maltreatment anonymously.
So kind of like a digital safety net.
That's a good way to put it.
So it would collect all these reports, analyze the data, and then alert the authorities.
That was the idea.
Wow. Ambitious.
It was a long shot, but they wanted to leverage the power of crowdsourced information and AI.
to solve a really complex problem.
Exactly.
Sadly, it never got off the ground.
Yeah.
But you can see how it connects to human stigmergy, right?
Absolutely.
Individuals sharing their observations to create this pool of knowledge.
And potentially driving positive change.
Right.
And even though the app wasn't built, it pushed the researcher to think more about AI.
And its potential for error management.
Exactly. They started to see the connections between the app, the accident with their mother, and risk perception.
So it all ties together.
It does.
Which brings us to the Queensland floods in Australia.
Right.
A turning point for the research.
It's definitely a defining moment.
And the birth of human stigmergy.
This was back before social media was as big as it is now.
Right.
People are mostly using online forums and message boards.
And that's where the researcher found something incredible.
Yes.
What was it?
A single post urging people to evacuate days before the official warnings were issued.
Days.
Yes.
So someone saw the danger before the authorities.
It seems that way.
Wow, that's incredible.
This person had local knowledge, a deep understanding of the land, and they understood the danger.
Wow.
The researcher was blown away by this.
I bet
They kept thinking, what if more people had seen that post?
it could have saved lives.
Exactly. And that's the power of human stigmergy.
Finding those critical signals amidst all the noise.
It's about recognizing those vital whispers of insight that can make a difference.
This flood event, I imagine it pushed the researcher even further into the world of AI,
Oh, yeah.
searching for ways to sift through all the chaos.
To find those needles in the digital haystack.
That's a great way to put it. It's like we're talking about a sixth sense, right? But instead of predicting earthquakes, it's about recognizing these patterns in human behavior.
Yeah, like a collective intuition amplified by technology.
And this is where AI comes in.
Exactly.
So the researcher really dove into the world of AI after their doctorate.
Oh, yeah. They were all in taking courses on statistics, machine learning, the whole 9 yards.
Wow, so they were serious about this.
They were looking for the tools to make sense of it all.
To connect the dots between individual perception and collective action.
Exactly. And this led to some pretty radical ideas.
Like that project about using AI at border crossings.
That one definitely raised some eyebrows.
I bet. It seems like the researcher was okay with pushing the limits a bit.
Oh, yeah. They weren't afraid of controversy.
But it's not about endorsing those applications, right?
Right. It's about understanding the potential for misuse.
Because human stigmergy can be used for good or bad.
Exactly.
And this researcher, they weren't all they actually jumped into the startup world.
Yeah, they co-founded a company that used AI to analyze online reviews.
Interesting. So how does that connect to everything else?
It shows they wanted to bridge the gap between theory and real-world applications.
To actually put these ideas into practice.
And even though the startup didn't make it,
It happens.
they learned a lot from the experience.
And I'm sure that experience made them a better teacher.
Oh, absolutely.
So we've got this brilliant mind, a bit of a risk taker,
Yeah.
who's trying to understand how the world works,
And then they discovered this concept of stigmergy.
which started with ants,
Right.
and suddenly everything clicks.
It was a real aha moment.
So they started to see human stigmergy everywhere.
Everywhere, those online movements, the ones that seemed to come out of nowhere,
They weren't random,
they were the result of people responding to each other, leaving those digital traces.
creating these feedback loops.
Exactly.
Wow, it's like we're all connected in this invisible web.
We're all leaving these digital breadcrumbs that influence each other.
So where does this leave us? What should we take away from all of this?
It means we're not just passive bystanders. We're shaping the digital world with every click, every share.
So we have a responsibility to be more aware.
Exactly. To think critically about what we see and do online.
Because human stigmergy, it's a powerful force.
It can be used for good or bad.
And the more we understand it, the better equipped we'll be to navigate this digital age.
We need to be mindful of the digital trails we leave behind.
It's both empowering and a little bit scary, don't you think?
It is, but knowledge is power, right?
That's a great point.
Well,
So to our listeners, think about your own experiences online.
can you see human stigmergy at work?
It's happening all around us, and it's shaping the future.
The future is in our hands.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And until next time, keep those digital breadcrumbs insightful.